You're listening to Late Night Radio on the SHR Media Network. Caution, there will be mature themes explored and potentially adult language used. If conservatarian words, phrases, certain concepts, or rhetoric offends you, tune out now.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
I have come here to chew bubble gum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubble.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, where I am broadcasting in North Idaho in an actual free state. I happen to be your conservative Sherpa, where I am guiding you through the maelstrom of Democrat, leftist, and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. And please note, what you're about to hear tonight for the next 2 hours, 1 hour with my guest and a second hour of me doing other things. Anyway, these consist of my opinions and my opinions only, and those of my guest. And I suspect that's why you're here tonight. What am I doing? I am doing the job the American media maggots won't. I am fundamentally changing America one leftist diaper at a time. That's my job, man. That's what I do. And I just want to let you know, we don't water our drinks, just like we don't water our conversations. We're still serving stiff drinks in the saloon, along with facts, history, logic, rationality, proportion, context, tradition, and common sense for actual normal people like you and me. The normies come here because of all those things. Well, what do I talk about? I talk about politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all right here at the Saloon, where the speech is free, but the booze is not. I'm streaming right now, live on rumble.com. When you see the field, just insert Berserk Bobcat Saloon, and you'll get to me right there, quick as a buddy. I'm on X at BZ's Saloon. I'm also on X at Two Against Tyranny. I'm on KLRN. I'm on Facebook and the SHR Media YouTube channel. So it is Thursday night. It is January the 16th, the year of our Lord, 2025. And I happen to have a great guest for tonight. It's kind of hearkening back to the original days. So tonight in the Saloon, we have a brand new guest named SUZZANNE Monk. And her ex-Twitter handle is at Trumpertarian, like conservatarian, like me, except add Trump at the front. I came across her by accident, kind of one day last week, because I like to just mess around in X and go different places and find new people and see if I'm interested in following or they're interested in following me. And I was meandering, and I began to check out her site. I sent her a message last week, and I thought, hey, let's invite her on the show. And she accepted, which is very cool. Her forte is helping with J6 defendants. And she has founded and organized the J6 Pardon Project. Now, to me, this sounded like a captivatingly motivated person and likely a great candidate for an interview to have a little chat with. Like I said, I used to do this a lot. I had my first show back after terrestrial radio in the 70s. I used to do this when I came on in January of 2017, after I retired in 2016. I used to find somebody on social media And they sounded like they were sort of a fascinatingly crafty kind of an individual. And I could see, I tried to see if I could somehow get them back and get them onto the show. So, like I say, tonight it's a kind of a little bit like going back to my roots in 2017. So let's just go right back into it. Suzanne Monk, welcome to the show. And thanks for taking the time to be here tonight, particularly considering that you're on the East Coast, which for some reason, the bulk of my guests source from the East Coast. And that also means that it's about 11:07 where you are right now, 8:07 Pacific, and 10:07 Central. So again, Suzanne Monk, thank you for being here tonight. I greatly appreciate it.
No, thank you so much for having me. Look, we get up early on the East Coast and we go to bed late. So that's how we do it over here.
Okay, cool. I don't know why most of my really cool guests come from the East Coast. Or I don't know, the equivalent could be it's because the West Coast sucks. I don't live there anymore, so I can say that. Hey, Suzanne Monk, before we get into the project itself, can you tell us a little bit about yourself in general?
Well, yeah, I'm a patriot and Trump supporter from all the way back on the escalator days. I'm what we call an escalator Trumper. My business was actually canceled 2016, 2017 in Chicago because of our Trump support. And we came out here to Washington, D.C., my husband and I of 30 years, to fight the good fight, to help make America great again, get those values back, that people-centric government that our founders intended and they handed to us in our founding documents. It is so important that we get that country back. And I think that, Trump has given us at least the first best good start we've seen, perhaps in my lifetime and perhaps in many older people's lifetime, even than me. So, that's what we came out here to do. And so we did. And we fought through COVID. In COVID, I started APAC Reopen America. We started 25 different reopen state chapters across the country to push back against the medical mandates and the government overreach. And during that time, I realized that they were using those COVID protocols to basically keep all inmates, but particularly our J6 our defendants and inmates in solitary confinement, ungroomed, on medical care, no access to family visitation or even legal visitation. And that's when I became an activist for the January 6th defendants all the way back in 2021. I have been fighting for their justice, for the truth about what is happened to them on January 6th, but also what has been happening to them in the lawfare in these courtrooms since then. I always say that January 6th was an attack against the American people, but that attack has not stopped. It is ongoing. Even to this day, we still have those courts making those sentences, requiring people to surrender, making those verdicts with no evidence, denial of due process, denial of our constitutional rights, and even perjury on the stand by law enforcement. So, there's a lot still going on with the January 6ers. However, we have President Trump coming into office, and he has promised to pardon them, and we have every indication that he intends to pardon and or release and or commute them on Monday, January 20th, and we are preparing to receive all of them and make sure they get back home to their families. So all of 2024, I have been working hard on the J6 Pardon Project. We started with a strategy guide, how to pardon the J6ers, which you guys can download yourself. I made it freely available on my website, j6pardonproject.com. We have built a database of all of the January 6th defendants. 1,590 is the number I have, although those new arrests might increase that number just a little bit. And we are currently working very hard to be ready to receive those inmates. We worked hard to get that narrative. We worked hard to get the public's understanding and education. And I think we did a very good job because January 6th became an election issue. I think it's the issue that maybe put President Trump even over the top. And so now we have so many J6 families who are looking forward to Victory Day, to Freedom, Liberty Day, when they will be able to receive their families. Their families will be able to walk out of these prisons where they have been held as hostages by the Biden regime, and they will be returned to their families, and we will begin the long, difficult process of restoring their lives.
Okay, well, You answered about 75 different questions that I had. I was thinking at first, because when you've never spoken to anybody before, you wonder initially, okay, is this going to be a tough interview or is this going to be an easy interview? Well, you just kind of pushed yourself over into the easy interview side. But you made mention of something that I want to investigate just a little bit. You said you were originally in Chicago or something like that. Then you moved to DC with your husband.
Yes. We lived in Chicago 27 years, and we moved here to DC in 2017.
Okay. And then you mentioned something about losing a business. Now, was that in Chicago or was that in DC after you moved?
In Chicago, my husband and I ran a small music store that sold world instruments from all over the world, African djembes, Indian sitars, fiddles, Appalachian fiddles, all of that. And we served a very diverse ethnic community there in Chicago, and we had a very successful first year of business. We opened our business about the same time Donald Trump came down on the escalator. However, our support of Donald Trump, our personal and private support of Donald Trump, leaked into the very leftist community there in Chicago, and they targeted our business because of that. They threatened our customers if they were to purchase instruments from us, they would lose gigs. And when we returned from the inauguration in 2017, we had a note on our door that suggested they hoped no one would firebomb our business. So that was not something I could take a risk of. We rented a little storefront with, houses apartments above it, and I can't take that kind of risk for anyone. So we decided to close our business. We made I wrote a letter to Crane Chicago Business that got very public. And you could probably even still look it up. You can look up the fight what we had with the leftists there in Chicago, but we decided the best decision was to close and to move out here to Washington, D.C. Because, people always say, why would you move from Chicago, very blue Chicago, to D.C.? And I always remind them that when you find yourself behind enemy lines, the direction of safety is towards the front. So we moved towards the front of the battle, and we have never looked back.
So I was going to ask you, hey, what's your background, your education, a bit of your philosophy, but it seems like both you and your husband are total spot on in terms of politics and dedication, tried to run a business, and COVID / people in Chicago decided that they were going to essentially run you out of town on a rail. Did they, Suzanne Monk, did they try to intimate in some fashion that, they have musical instruments, and these musical instruments are touched by human beings, or sometimes their evil mouths touch these instruments, and they're not interested in COVID, so you can't buy any kind of an instrument from these people. They're not protecting you sufficiently. I'm curious, did they go there like that?
Let me explain. Let me explain. Our business actually got canceled all the way back in 2016. So that was even pre-COVID time. The only thing that we touched was the television button and listen to Donald Trump. The only thing we did was actually support the president of the United States, President Trump's first term. That's all we did. It was way pre-COVID when our business got canceled, and it was merely for our personal advocacy and support and choice to vote for Donald J. Trump. We were here in D.C. when COVID started, and that's actually when I started Reopen America PAC on day two of the shutdowns. And our main mission there was just to ask sensible questions. Why are we doing these things? And what are we going to do to undo the damage? And, I did get a lot of heat in the media that year. I was called Grandma Killer a few times, but I think those were reasonable questions, and that ultimately we have still not recovered from that. The city here in DC is not, and I know many cities across the country have not recovered from the ridiculous policy of shutting down businesses, shutting down commerce, and literally trying to grind the economy to a halt in a way that it has not yet recovered from. So those are actually two different eras. And yeah, my business got canceled even before the word canceled was in common usage.
Because of your politics, solely, period, end of statement, because of your politics.
100%. Yes.
Okay, so now would you consider you and your, mostly you, since I'm speaking to you tonight. Folks, this is Suzanne Monk. She's the originator of the J6 project, and we'll get into that in a little bit more detail in a moment. The full term is the J6 Pardon Project. So would you consider yourself Republican, conservative? How have you historically kind of considered yourself?
Well, for many years I considered myself a libertarian, but unfortunately the Libertarian Party has forced many of people who are really that small government minded individual to rethink that, because they have certainly not held to those values. And as I, excuse me, as I was having that evolution, I started to understand more what the word Republican meant and what a republic was. And it is a government by which we form a consensus of the people. We can form a consensus of the people. And we do that through voting. Voting is one way to determine consensus, but that is not the singular way in which we determine that consensus. We obviously have the Constitution, which has a variety of checks and balances and a very enumerated powers kind of structure that we form that consensus through, and that consensus of the governed. So I am what I like to call a classical Republican, just like our founders. We wanted a republic. I want the republic my founders presented to us as what their vision is for America. And that is the vision I still carry. Now, have the Republicans misappropriated the word? Well, yeah. And I would love them to stop using it and give us our party back. And I have been working using President Trump's wonderful energy in this country to help do that. And I think a lot of us have been taking the Republican Party back. We, the people, have been engaging in that classical form of republicanism that the founders intended. Okay.
Usually there's some kind of a predicating point or a time when someone becomes engaged in politics. For me, my life was such that I was a massive leftist for a long time, especially in college. And I started to get a job and started to pay taxes. And wouldn't you know it, that kind of moved me into the Republican category. So, Suzanne Monk, how long have you been aligned with politics or been politically oriented to the Republican Party, or even to being a conservative or libertarian?
Well, I might be able to tell that story this way. My first mock election in grade school, I voted for a third-party candidate, John Anderson.
Okay.
So I started throwing my vote away very early. I've always been a very political wonk kind of person, somebody that pays very close attention to politics and very much believes that citizen engagement is the critical factor that allows us to be governed ourselves as our Constitution allows. So I've always been one of those wonky people. It's kind of been nice in the last 8 years to see other individuals really wake up to the reality of politics and the importance of it. You know, it's always something that has been like, we don't talk politics, we don't talk religion. It's not in polite circles, but that has certainly changed very much in the last 8 years. And perhaps even before that, as we saw the devastation that this country was put through by President Obama. So I think America is waking up, and I'm happy to see everybody start to care as much about politics as I actually pretty much always nerdily have my whole life.
So you're pretty hardcore, kind of.
A little bit.
Okay. All right. You were politically awake, some significant time before I was. I used to kind of be a libertarian. I call myself a little L libertarian because I'm not for hot and cold running drugs, and I'm not interested in leaving the border wide open, because we can certainly see the consequences for that. In any event, so Suzanne Monk, what I'm going to do now, Suzanne is on the phone, so she's not on video. I'm going to describe the things for her that we're seeing. So I'm going to go over to her site right now on X. So if you want to find out where she is, she's on X at Trumpertarian. And I'm, like I say, a little L libertarian. Now, to me, that makes a lot of sense. And you can scroll all through this. Lots of good material here. reference to pardoning the J6ers, the Dan Bongino show, gentleman that's a victim of Alvin Bragg. We're going to get into that video. Let's see, what do I have? I got about another 10 minutes. Good, I can get into this right now. Let me kind of start at the start. Can you give us a little bit of information about January 6th? And what I mean by that is perhaps some things that people may not know or that you would like to make them aware of in terms of January 6th.
Yes, certainly I can. And I always like to start with, first and foremost, January 6th was a failure of security by the U.S. Capitol Police. And if we all started there, we certainly start to begin the very basic understanding. Had the Capitol Police been able to do their job that day, chose to receive the resources such as the National Guard that were made available by President Trump, we wouldn't be talking about January 6th today. They would have kept it safe like they have kept it hundreds and hundreds of times before, with many, many protests of.
By the way, since you're new to the show, you just heard what I do when I agree with a particular individual who makes a very, very important and salient point. This could have been avoided if they treated this with the same thing in the same fashion, in the same way that they had treated other incidents like this. It's not like the Capitol hasn't been protested before. So thank you for that background. I greatly appreciate that. It's
well, and this is why we call it an entrapment, and even President Trump has spoken about it in this manner, and many others have. This is why we call it that, because the way they set up the zones and the protection were very much designed to be easily thwarted. And once individuals were there peacefully protesting, Capitol Police, not all of them, but certain individuals that need to be investigated for this inappropriate and dangerous actions that they took, they used less than lethal weapons in a deadly manner on multiple individuals who had committed no acts of violence whatsoever. Joshua Black was shot through the cheek with a pepper ball, and all of these weapons, these non-lethal weapons, it is very clear, indicated both in their training and written right on the weapon, that if you use this weapon at the head or face, it can result in injury or death. And I have seen myself through many hours of footage, sitting even in trial, watch the government's own footage. I have watched Capitol Police officer open and fire on individuals, making 5 headshots in a row, an intentional use of deadly force. That happened actually repeatedly in the crowd with multiple different officers at multiple times during the day. So that is why people say that they were provoked. And in fact, in this country, we get a little tense when officers commit acts of brutality. Right here in Washington, D.C., this city burned for 68 days because an officer on the other side of the country was involved in the death of a man named George Floyd. But officers were involved in the death of 4 civilian individuals that day. Ashley Babbitt, who was brutally murdered by Michael Byrd in cold blood. Roseanne Boylan, who was beaten and denied medical care by Lila, beaten several times to death by Lila Morris, died there in people's arms as they sat packed in and suffocating in a crowd that was so dense they could not move. Kevin Greason, Benjamin Phillips, both of them died as a result of an engagement by flashbangs that may have caused medical issues, heart issues, and they did not receive medical care. They were basically refused or delayed medical care by Capitol Police, who were not helping people that day. Those 4 individuals died directly because of the actions or failure of actions of the U.S. Capitol Police, and and Metropolitan Police, and we need to be investigating those situations. So that is something people need to understand about January 6th. When we talk about folks who committed acts of violence that day, let me tell you about a man who committed, quote unquote, an act of violence. A man named Josh Lawler. He's a Purple Heart U.S. veteran from the Army. Wonderful man. His only crime that day is that he took a baton out of the hand of an officer who was beating an old man who was lying on his back. And rather than watch another person get beaten to death by an officer, Joshua Lawler grabbed that baton, removed it from the officer, and took it and went into the crowd. That was his only crime. And he received a severe sentence. He got the 1512 charge. He actually had to be resentenced because that was unconstitutional. And these are the kinds of things that we are calling violent assaults. Individuals protecting other people from what were acts of vicious police brutality. So that's something else people need to understand about January 6th. But I will say this, the most important thing everyone needs to understand about January 6th is the lawfare that has occurred after that, is the fact that we have spent millions and millions and millions of dollars going after individuals for a misdemeanor parading charge, for walking in and out of a building through open doors past officers who welcomed them in. I've seen, the shortest I've seen is literally 13 seconds. And these people are getting 6 months jail time, 9 months jail time, years of probation, utterly excessive sentences for something that is usually a $50 ticket. And frankly, protesters on the left have attacked officers, burned limousines in this city. They have committed egregious violent acts and received no jail time, received small fines compared to what we see with the January 6th. So that is the third and most important thing I think everybody needs to understand. No matter what happened on January 6th or any action that anyone took on that day, the lawfare against them has denied their due process. They should be considered innocent until proven guilty in a just court of law, and they have not received that just court of law. And they have been assaulted by the Bureau of Prisons. They have been put in torturous situations. Their families have been violated, made destitute. We have had SWAT raids that have left pregnant women no longer pregnant. We have had miscarriages. We have had lost family members. We have had several suicides because of the weaponization of the government against people with the use of lawfare. So when you think about the January 6th, what you need to understand is that our justice system has been broken, and they broke over the head of these January 6th defendants. And it is up to we, the American people, to rectify that. And the founders gave us one check and balance against a utterly out of control judicial system and government, and that is the presidential power of clemency. And we are looking forward to President Trump wielding that very important power on Monday.
Okay, we're going to break for the bottom of the hour in just a moment, and because obviously I'd never spoken to Suzanne Monk before. By the way, she's on X. You can see if you look. Where's my thing? Right here. At Trumpertarian on X. I have to tell you, quite frankly, I'm blown away by you. The fount of knowledge that you have and that you are. You can rattle off information. You've clearly done a ton of research into this, quite knowledgeable. I'll be honest. I thought this was going to be an interesting interview with someone who has an interesting idea. And the compliment at this point is I had no idea that you were this intimately familiar with so much information and so much of the goings on. We're going to take a break. Well, let me ask you one final question before we take a break. Because you and your husband are in DC, did that make the focus and your impetus to be that much more knowledgeable about what went on January 6th? Was that the focus for you guys? It's like, we're here. I got to know about this.
Well, I actually spoke at a rally on the 5th of January 5th, 2021 there in front of the Supreme Court the day before January 6th. I've been involved here in the Patriot community. And I know a lot of the individuals actually who are arrested. I'm very close friends with the 5 very famous Proud Boys from the Proud Boys trial, including Enrique Tarrio, who was accused of seditious conspiracy and was given 20-year sentence, despite not even being in D.C. on January 6th. So I have some very close personal friends. And frankly, once you start meeting these January 6ers, it's hard not to make them your friends. These are some amazing Americans. And I frankly think that's why the Biden regime was very targeted in taking some of our best people, some of our most diligent and loyal law enforcement officials, military people, patriots, and destroying them and silencing them and taking them off of the political map so they cannot participate in the restoration of our country. It was intentional and egregious, and I can't help but want to fight for people like that who have taken so much and still every single night here in the DC Gulag sing the national anthem. Every single night, the men who have been held pre-trial, who are facing huge sentences, who are currently in egregious conditions with black mold and brown water and bad food and bologna sandwiches, they sing the national anthem every night, despite the fact that their own government has put them in jail. And that's the kind of patriots I stand for, and I will stand for them until the very end.
Holy moly! You have slapped me upside the head. I did not expect this. Folks, this is Suzanne Monk. I'm going to take a break. We're going to come back, and then I want to display for you, and I will read so that Suzanne knows what's going on because she's on the phone right now, what the J6 Project advocates. I must tell you, I'm absolutely gobsmacked with your expertise. Folks, let's take a break right now. We'll be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Come listen to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. Live on select and exclusive Tuesday and Thursday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Central, and 8 p.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Rumble channel, SHR Media YouTube channel, X, Twitch, Spreaker, and wherever great conservative podcasts are found. BZ, your conservative Sherpa, guides you through the maelstrom of Democrat, leftist, and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. Raised as a free-range child with dirt, stains, mud, and freedom, BZ broadcasts from North Idaho, comfortably surrounded by actual normal people. Jump into our plush, sumptuous, palatial, and resplendent chat room on rumble.com. Click on live chat to join. Now, with 37% more umbrage and 19% more bulbosity than previous shows, featuring delicious Liberty additives for the best in late-night conservatarian talk radio. BZ reminds you that with great beard comes great responsibility. No chinchillas were harmed, embarrassed, fat-shamed, or the focus of any sarcasm whatsoever in the making of this ad.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Hey fellas, are you mission ready? Coming in November to SHR Media. By way of Big E Jackson, you need to check out Mission Ready Men. It's a show that equips you to navigate our society's challenges from a biblical perspective with courage and conviction. Tune into Mission Ready Men as we examine our culture through the prism of biblical truths, teachings, and how to apply them in our daily lives. Prepare to step up, stand out, and step into your role as a man, as ordained by God. That's Mission Ready Men, hosted by Earl Jackson, coming this November on the SHR Media Network. And get mission ready.
Want to make an immediate difference in the life of a critically ill child? You have the ability to do that right now. Make a donation to Dream Makers for Life, the organization that restores dreams to seriously ill children and their families. You can sponsor a dream pack for a child, which contains a clear PVC backpack, a dry erase board adventure coloring book, a journal, and dry erase markers to inspire a critically ill child to envision a future adventure and hope. Want to become a dream maker for life yourself? Go to dreamforlife.org. That's dreamforlife.org. Help a child. Help a family. There is always hope.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And I say welcome back to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. Thank you so kindly for watching tonight live and direct on Rumble, on X, shrmedia.com, the SHR Media YouTube channel, and the euphonious KLRN on X at KLRN Radio. Our plush, sumptuous, and palatial and resplendent chat rooms, they await you. Subscribe, give me a thumbs up, share the show, and like I've said before, any number of times, a subscription, if you hit the subscribe button, for example, on either Rumble or YouTube, that gets me either a porcelain Dalmatian. I kind of would like to have a porcelain Dalmatian to set right in front of my fireplace, or hopefully more vodka. Either one. Each, just remember that your mileage may vary. Member FDIC batteries not included. No leak to basement, patent pending. I like long walks off a short pier and dogs. So tonight, I have a great guest. It is Suzanne Monk. And she's not on video, she's on the phone, and I want to welcome her back. And so thank you for being here tonight, Suzanne Monk. It's, like I said, you're kind of blowing me away with the information and the knowledge that you have about January 6th. It's rather astounding. Now that I heard your background, though, I get it. I understand that. So thank you for being here tonight, Suzanne Monk.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
I want to play, and then we're going to go into the J6 project itself. I want to play the heinous Donald John Trump, OMB, Orange Man Bad, the guy with a dead orange cat on his head, as he advocated and called for all of his people, the millions of minions that were there, to become evil and violent and insurrective and hurt, kill, maim, or injure as many people as possible. And so, no, this is what he actually said. Okay. If you'll play it for me. Anyway, while I'm waiting for that to roll, let's do this. This is, I'm displaying right now, Suzanne Monk. These are the J6 release watch steps. Prior to January 20th, link up with others who are planning to be at the facility you can assist at, cooperate. These are your steps that you recommend. The goal is to assure the J6 inmates are released. They are met by family or advocates who can assist them with their immediate needs, help them get to the next step of their travel home. Some families will be there. Some J6ers will need a room, a meal until family can arrive. Some are going to need a room and meals until flight arrangements can be made. And some won't have any place to go whatsoever. So I'm going to continue for those, and this is directly from your site. For those who have solvable problems, people at each facility should work together to solve it. Whether it's about buying a room, giving gas money, giving rides, each location is there to solve as many problems as possible when they arrive. Many J6ers already have plans, so the volunteers are just there to support them. You have to respect their wishes. Offer assistance with gas and travel costs. Those who need help, work out solutions if you can. If it's a problem of long distance travel or housing or a bigger need, reach out to you. You have placed yourself directly into this. Reach out to Suzanne Monk. so she can tap into any number of the resources that she has. And she continues on this. Each facility is different, so you will need to be adaptive. Some facilities have parking lots that can be briefly used, so scouts will take turns keeping watch for release while the main group is located near. Some facilities drop released inmates at a bus stop or another offsite location. This is why you should try to communicate with other J6 advocates or families at the facility who are in the know. Be prepared to watch. Be prepared the 20th, the 21st, and potentially the 22nd. Take shifts, take turns. We need to be present to prevent what we know the BOP, Bureau of Prisons, will do. Dump them in winter in the streets with no way to communicate or get picked up. That is BOP standard procedure. And then finally, you advocate. Many inmates are going to have family bringing coats and clothes, volunteers having sweatshirts and pants, coats, backpacks, luggage they can use, boxes can come in handy. Pocket cash is really going to help them out. Have cash ready. Have your phones charged and ready. Have a hotel room or rooms or a nearby home so that folks can shower, make calls, whatever is needed. And this is just amazing to do this. Remember, you're there to help them with their needs. Don't assume what they need. Ask it, ask them, and then provide it. And again, reach out to Suzanne Monk if the need is too big to solve. Reach out to you. You have placed yourself directly in this path. If you need more resources, we have resources available to direct folks such as flight, travel costs, temporary housing, etc. If we remember to respect the wishes of J6ers and we are committed to cooperation with each other to solve the problems, we can get them home. If we operate in this manner, we should be able to stay safe, stay warm, and get these people home where they need to be. That's absolutely amazing.
Well, let me just give you some statistics on how amazing that is. There are 246 inmates spread across 35 different states at 88 different facilities, prison facilities across the country. And we are coordinating teams of individuals, family members in some cases, volunteers in other cases, to be present at every single one of those facilities from the first moment that release is possible. So when that commutation and or release order and or pardon, we do not know specifically what the president is going to use, but when that order is received by the facility, they must by law release those individuals on that day. On the next day, they become basically kidnapped. The prison becomes liable for wrongful imprisonment and any liability that may happen to that individual. So release, once a pardon or commutation or release order has been issued, it will occur within 2, 3, up to 5 hours, but it will be on that day. And I can tell you, I just got a message from one of my good friends in the DC Gulag who informed me that prison staff have been required to stay on the clock until 10:30 p.m. on Monday, Inauguration Day, when their shift usually ends at 5. So they are preparing at the DC Gulag to have staff available to issue that order. And if the president signs that order and AG Pam Bondi sends that order as is her job as the Attorney General who oversees the U.S. Pardon Attorney's Office, and they can send that right to the facilities, as is that ongoing connection through the U.S. Pardon Attorney's Office with the facilities. That's how a president can stay in execution in a moment. There's that movie, that red phone moment in the movies, that is that actual reality. And so that connection is directly to these facilities, and we expect if the president signs it that day, that they could in fact receive them on that day, and then we would be seeing release on that date. Now, I'm very serious. The Bureau of Prisons will dump folks out onto the streets. They do not care if it is 2 degrees. They do not care if it is snowy. They will not provide coats. That you will be wearing flip-flops or other little soft shoes that you wear inside the jail. They do not do a good job at how they treat people when they are released. And that's not just because of J6ers. When I say that is standard operating procedure, that is operating procedure for every single individual that gets released. We are cruel. we are cruel to individuals who are serving in prison for any reason. We do not allow them to have their lives corrected, and we set them off on the worst possible footing. And some of these facilities are literally in the middle of nowhere. So we are making sure that the Bureau of Prisons cannot do what they will do, and that is leave over 246 individuals stranded without access to family members who do not know that they have yet been released. That is unacceptable to the J6 community, and we have come together. I have put myself in the hub merely from having that reputation of someone who has been on this mission, someone who is trusted by these families. My work has been shared inside of these prison facilities many, many times. They've passed around how to pardon the J6ers in many prison facilities across the country. So these inmates know me, and they know the community that I work with. And so this is not something that my group has done, or even the PAC that I chair. It is a concerted joint effort from all of the J6 families, from J6 organizations like the American Gulag Chronicles, and American Patriot Relief, other organizations that have tapped in, but also just regular citizens who are pitching in. I'm very happy to be working with Gary. I think his name is Heaven or Heaven. I'm not sure. I've only seen it written down. I just call him Gary when I call him. He just did a spot on Alex Jones today talking about the project and the planes that his Pilots Association have made available to on volunteer status to be able to fly some of these January 6ers home who have medical needs, who are housed hundreds, perhaps even sometimes over 1,000 miles away from their family members. And so we have a lot of people coming together, providing access to resources. And yes, bless my heart, I have somehow made it my job to make sure that these 246 individuals get the resources that they need to get that next best start at life. And we do have a lot of places that I have to mention the J6 Road Home, which is a wonderful ranch in Texas where they are building mini homes for January 6ers who do not have a home to go to. Some of these people have lost their homes. They have lost family members. Family members have died while they have been in jail. Family members have disassociated because of the slanderous misrepresentation of January 6th. Many, many situations that have led to these individuals, some of them needing basically a whole brand new start. A lot of these folks just need to get home to their families, whatever it is. We're going to make sure that those individuals, once they're released, get the opportunity to get their lives back.
Two things I want to mention. Sean Lewis and the people at SHR, we talked about people who are like tough interviews. You got to pull the information out of them. You are an easy interview. You are one of the sharpest persons that I've spoken to, just kind of off the cuff in quite some time. Two things I knew I was going to run out of time. I knew it. I'm not going to be able to cover a fraction of the stuff that I wanted to. But again, this is Suzanne Monk, folks. She is the originator of the J6 Pardon Project. That's who we have been speaking to for the past hour and will be speaking to until the top of the hour. Two things, Suzanne Monk, that I want to have you go over with that I think a lot of people do not understand. I'm on your website right now, and I'm on your X page, I should say. If you want to find out where Suzanne Monk is on social media, she is on X at Trumpertarian, as you can see down in the indicator down below right there, where I indicate that also that's you on the teleolophone. This is from your site, Shelley. They are moving the J6ers all around the country right now. This morning, a J6 wife went to pick her husband up, who took an 8-hour trip to get there. He was in jail in Ashland, Kentucky for a nonviolent misdemeanor. He was supposed to go to a halfway house. She's driving home without him that have the U.S. Marshals taking him back to the D.C. gulag. If you would, Suzanne Monk, elucidate everyone here and tell them how I think a lot of people believe that the 236 or 46 individuals, they're just in one place. Oh, no. They're all over the United States, and they move them. Is that correct?
Yes, it has a specific term. It's called diesel therapy. It is a method of torment that the Bureau of Prisons is very familiar with and uses quite frequently, where they move individuals from one facility to the next. Each time they move that individual, everything that they have purchased on their commissary. So commissary is not just for phone minutes so they can get some potato chips. It is what they need to buy toothpaste. It is what they need to buy toothbrush. It is what they need to buy deodorant. It's what they need to buy shoes, socks, underwear, clothing. So all of that, every time they move them, all of those things are lost, gone. They do not get to keep them. They show up and they have to replace all those things over and over and over again. During the time while you are traveling from one facility to another, your family can't reach you. In fact, once you arrive, your family might not be able to reach you for up to a week, 2 weeks, sometimes 4 weeks, while they situate you in that new facility, and they will continue to move them. And I can tell you, since we have been preparing for release launch as of last week, they have moved about 20 inmates personally that we have kept track of. I've got the best inmate tracking team in the country, the folks there at Patriot Mail Project, who have been following these individuals, getting letters to these individuals in jail, helping people connect and really support them. They are helping me track every single day. Every single day we have to use the Bureau of Prisons locator to make sure that they have not moved individuals and where they may have moved these individuals so that we can be at the location to receive them. And it's been a little bit of a whack-a-mole I've been playing with the Bureau of Prisons this week.
Let me add this to the stage also. This is the United States of America. I will tell you how I had to operate while I was working as a law enforcement officer in California, always spell it with a K. Were you aware, folks, that there are still 4 years plus later, those J6 suspects who have not had a day in court? Look here, this is again off of Suzanne Monk's X page at Trumpertarian. Several January 6th defendants are scheduled for trial or sentencing in the days after the inauguration. If President Trump isn't ready to act on day one, nonviolent misdemeanor defendant Kyle Colton will have a judgment entered against him at 10 a.m. on January 21st, which means Colton will have a permanent criminal record, even if pardoned, unless the Trump DOJ vacates his case. Suzanne Monk, please confirm for me, if you would, that there are still J6 defendants who have not had a day in court.
Yeah, I can tell you about one very well-known one. Jake Lang. Jake Lang sits in the D.C. Gulag right now. He is still pre-trial. He has been incarcerated since, I believe, January of 2021. And he has not yet been convicted. There has been delay after delay. And I can tell you that there are 2 ways in which they will make it it's impossible to not delay. They withhold the evidence. They drag out the evidence. When they finally do hand you the government evidence, remember, we were all talking about all the footage they have at the Capitol that Mike Johnson was going to release, this direct evidence that they are required by the Constitution to provide to the defendant in his defense. They will give it to you at the last minute in a 5 billion zillion gigabyte file, no thumbnails, no sorting. And then the judge will say, okay, well, you have that evidence. You have to be ready to use that tomorrow. And they do not care. And so that again and again makes these lawyers then issue a request for delay. And then they said, okay, well, that's not going to count towards your denial of speedy trial. And the government has used this method to delay case after case after case, some of them for years pre-trial.
Folks, what would you think if this was happening to other than J6 defendants? What would you think was happening if this were occurring to, illegal invaders or people that are arrested in New York City for committing an actual crime? Some of these are delineated felonies. Some of these are misdemeanors. Some are still in jail and prison. In California, where I worked, Let me throw this out. We're going to have to wrap this up in about 5 minutes. In California, we had 48 hours in which to file charges, or the suspect, per the California Penal Code, had to be released. The California Penal Code says 1382, defendants have a right to be tried within 60 days of being charged with a felony. What happened to the J6 defendants? Why are they exempt? Well, you know why. So in semi-wrapping this up, Suzanne Monk, I can tell you why I believe that this is all occurring under Merrick Garland's DOJ. What justice there is in that. Do you have any kind of a speculative theory as to why, of all the other people encountered, including all the people that were rioting, hurt people, injured people in all of 2020, those people weren't even found? The investigations didn't primarily occur, and if they did, they were released. These people assaulted federal facilities, federal compounds, and essentially nothing was done. Any theory, Suzanne Monk on X at Trumpertarian, who was the coordinator and the originator of the J6 Pardon Project, any theories as to why the DOJ went out of their fucking way to make sure that these people were buried and prosecuted and essentially stuffed under the jail?
Yeah, a very clear reason. First off and foremost, it was designed to ensure that President Trump could not serve in office again. It was designed to create this false and narrative of an insurrection, of seditious conspiracy, which, as we know, constitutionally would prohibit the president from once again serving office. It was all to play that political game and to go after the supporters of President Trump, to frighten anyone who would stand up in support of this country, who would stand up in support of election integrity, and frankly, to ensure that these individuals would never be able to participate in government again. They've slandered their lives. They've slandered them on social media. That will never, ever change. They will never be able to rectify the misinformation that we have seen in the lies. But what we do know, and what we know from the J6 committee deleting evidence, and what we know from so many investigations, including investigations with General Milley, who had programs following individuals throughout the year that actually ended up at January 6th and were charged. The DOD, the Department of Defense, was stalking American citizens and in preparation for what we are to understand. And many documentaries such as J6 A True Timeline, Bloody Hill, many films that have been made about January 6th lay very clearly bare that it was a setup. It was designed to entrap these individuals. And we need to find out who set him up. Was it the Department of Defense? Was it the FBI? Was it the CIA? Was it Department of Homeland Security? What role did Mitch McConnell and Nancy Pelosi play as head of the Capitol facility and the law enforcement there? There's a lot of questions. We need an investigation. We need justice. We need rectification. We need to know if the American people are safe to protest peacefully without their own government assaulting them, entrapping them, imprisoning them, and holding them hostage. So for the first time in our country's history ever that I can recall, on Inauguration Day, American citizens will be standing in front of 80 different jails across the country, waiting for the political prisoners to walk out of prison, the political prisoners of the previous administration, Joe Biden's administration. And we are able to do that because we elected a new man with a mandate to set those J6ers free. And we are looking very much forward to promises made, promises kept.
In chat, in the YouTube chat, Susie Bubbles says the torture these Americans have endured is anti-American. It's worse than any third world country. She also reminded us 26 people died during the BLM riots, billions of dollars in damage. The only deaths on January 6th were the protesters, specifically Ashley Babbitt and the woman, I can't recall her name.
Roseanne Boylan, who was beaten to death by Officer Lila Morris, who was crushed, suffocated, denied medical care, and literally beaten repeatedly her cold, bloody body with a stick, repeatedly, a long wooden pole by Officer Lila Morris.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Not the actions, but perfection in terms of thank you for being here tonight, Suzanne Monk. I had so many places that I wanted to go. Thanks for taking the time to be here. Thanks for staying up so late. I mean, it's midnight where you are right now. Tell me one final question, and then we're gonna take off, and then I want to show something to everybody here. What do you think the likelihood is that Donald John Trump will pardon prisoners on the 20th or right around there?
I believe Donald John Trump will be signing the first, perhaps, of multiple orders, but the order that releases all of our individuals in the first 9 minutes. That's what he said. And what we interpret that to mean here in D.C. is in that limo ride. That's about how long it takes to go from the swearing in to the top of the parade. So we expect that to be signed in the limo. That's what Trump has said. And he actually called Ashley Babbitt's mom, Mama Mickey. We call her Mama Mickey just last week, and let her know personally that we are expected to have a very happy day on the 20th. So we think President Trump is going to do the right thing. We feel very strongly, 99.999% enough to spend all of my waking hours and a few hours before I go to bed here, even at this late hour, making sure that on Monday we are prepared to get all 246 of those folks back home.
Suzanne Monk, I can't thank you enough for being here tonight. It was a grand interview.
Thank you very much.
Please don't make yourself scarce. I was going to ask you about your plans for the future and whatnot, but I know that you're going to have to go, and I'm going to have to shift gears here a little bit. I'll be honest. You gobsmacked me. You impressed the shit out of me. I hadn't expected the interview to go like this. You basically made me throw all my questions away, and you just took the football and ran. And God bless you for that, and for the work that you do. These are political prisoners. It's a gulag. Just remember, folks, this allegedly is the United States of America. If the U.S. can do that to these people, they can do it to you.
Yes, sir. Yes, they can.
And very likely shall under another regime. Things are changing in 4 days. So Suzanne Monk, thank you ever so kindly for being here.
As we say, 3 days and a wake up. As we say, 3 days and a wake up.
Yep, exactly. Thank you kindly.
Thank you for having me.
Folks, I want to throw this in here too. And this will be for Suzanne or anybody that is watching now live or happens to see this in podcast. If you are a J6 defendant, if you were incarcerated, if you served your time, if you were released, if you're going to be released shortly, if you're subject to a pardon, I want to hear you. I want to speak to you. So please pass this along to your friends, to the people that are interested, to Suzanne Monk, to me. Just as I spoke to Suzanne Monk, I want to speak to the people that were subject to this. I'm crossing my fingers that President Trump is going to do his job, but I want to hear their stories in this country in 2025 from 2021. This is nuts. Email me, please, if you have information about a J6 defendant, bz@shrmedia.com. bz@shrmedia.com. I want to talk to you. I want to hear your story. People need to know what happened in the DOJ.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Edge of Liberty. Join me right here on the SHR Media Network every Monday and Friday, 12 on the Pacific, 3 on the East Coast. On this show, we'll discuss news, politics, the government, how cranky we are about the government, and more. If you want to hear hard talk, good interviews, sarcasm, bad jokes, and oh God, that really is me in a nutshell. Either way, check me out right here on the Edge of Liberty every Monday and Friday, 12 Pacific, 3 on the East, on the SHR Media Network.
Freedom. One nation in all of human history was built on that bedrock. Ours. A republic of the people, by the people, and for the people. Self-government requires freedom, just as freedom requires an individual willingness to self-govern. Freedom has made America exceptional, but it can only last as long as you and I seek the good, as expressed by the laws of nature and nature's God. It can only last if you and I choose to act as people of character. Forging character has been the pursuit of Hillsdale College since 1844.
Are you looking for a way to boldly express your faith and love for your country? And check out Seven Armors, the premier apparel company for patriotic men of God, where faith meets freedom in style. Our t-shirts are more than just clothing, they're statements. Bold, stylish, and meaningful. From timeless messages to modern designs, we've got something for every patriotic man of God. Wear your beliefs proudly with Seven Armors gear. Don't miss the chance to wear your faith and freedom on your sleeve. Visit 7armors.com today and join the movement. That's the number 7armors.com. 7armors.com. Faithful, vigilant, steadfast, passion.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And we're back. I'm back. We're all back. Baby got back. I have a little back. I was once told by a guy when I was working main jail booking, who came up to me and said, "Dude, you have no ass. How do your pants stay on?" And how do you reply to that? Son of a Gunovich. So anyway, thanks for being here tonight. Oh my God. Thanks to Suzanne Monk. What an interview that was. So if you would, I got to have her on back. I mean, things are going to change, I can hope, only for the better. But the amount of pushback that's going to occur January 20th and beyond, I think if you believed that pushback was bad under 45, it's going to be even worse under 47. Because now, Donald John Trump, OMB, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head, he is even more clued in as to how this place functions or doesn't than ever before. So because of that, the deep state, etc., oh my God, they are certainly aware. They are very, very aware of what is going on. I mentioned this before, and I'm going to mention this again. All your little Congress critters, you need to go here to find out what kind of Congress critters you have, because if you own the triumvirate like Bush did for a while, George Bush, not the father, but the son, and did essentially nothing with it, the Oval Office, the House, the Senate, power. Now we're going to bow to the interests and money, etc. But the Congress critters, you need to know who they are and how they vote. Great place to go if you want to determine whether your Congress critters are rhinos or cucks. Go to libertyscore.conservativereview.com. libertyscore.conservativereview.com. And this is what you do. If you look at California, hey, look, it lights up, and then it will tell you about the individuals there. Hey, look, here's a state. How about Michigan? How about Florida? How about Texas? How about Maine? It will let you know. And this funny looking crazy animal with a big beard and a funny nose, this guy needs some serious dermatological work. Anyway, go to libertyscore.com, libertyscore.conservativereview.com, and find out about all of your loving little Congress critters. And speaking of loving, and speaking of Congress critters, something like this.
It's time for happy stories and good times.
Here's a happy story. I don't have a lot. I don't have a ton, but I do have a lot of aligned stories for the rest of the hour. Here is one. Now, I was in this building. The head dude and dudettes on Mahogany Row are on the 7th floor. But I wonder why this occurred. Yahoo News. The headline is, courtesy of Fox, FBI closed the DEI office in December, the agency says. Now, I wonder who may have helped that along. Well, it wasn't Biden. And then Christopher Wray, who it turns out is every bit as underhanded as Comey. Comey would kind of slap you upside of the head because he's 6'8". And he was obviously slimy, but Christopher Wray hid behind his arrogance. Comey, you can't say Comey wasn't arrogant. Christopher Wray is, to me, more offensive. He tried to preen behind the American flag while stabbing Americans in the back. Not really what I'd call the best of friends. So that's a happy story that's occurring. Another happy story is, I have to play this. You would look bitterly and foully upon me if I didn't play this, because this is Senator Alex Padilla from California, always spell it with a K. We knew him as a bonds agent in Sacramento, California, always spell it with a K. Alex Padilla. So he's in the big time now because this bastard is sitting in D.C. Well, what we know is that Pam Bondi didn't take any of his crap. This was so cool. This was wonderful. Let's play it.
Your job will be, your job will be to protect voters and election workers, not to undermine and dox them. Now, I know that earlier you agreed that Joe Biden is in fact president, but many of the president-elect's inner circle continue to spread the big lie about the 2020 election. Then we'll move on to a different topic.
Senator, you were speaking. May I speak? You cut me off when I was speaking. When I ask you the next question, you can
speak, and I hope you answer, Ms. Bondi.
Well, I'd like to answer the previous one, Senator.
When we met yesterday,
you pointed your finger at me and said you were speaking. Let me answer my question. I'm not going to be bullied by you, Senator
the 14th Amendment of the United States of America, which is deeply disappointing.
I guess you didn't want to hear my answer about
today after I gave an opportunity to study overnight. So can you tell?
He's just going to steamroller over her ass. Who cares? He doesn't give a shit about listening to what she has to say. Not one. This is theater. This is kabuki. This is DC, kabuki theater of the absurd.
Tell me in this committee what the Citizenship Clause of the 14th Amendment says.
Senator.
Okay, stop. This is one of the finest rejoinders I've heard in politics in quite some time. This is great.
I'm here to answer your questions. I'm not here to do your homework and study for you. If I am confirmed as Attorney General...
You're the one asking for a confirmation vote,
you cut me off. Can I please finish?
What does the 14th Amendment say?
Senator, the 14th Amendment, we all know, addresses birthright citizenship. I've been a state prosecutor. I've been a state AG. I look forward to, even given your remarks today, working with you and the people of California if I am confirmed as the 87th Attorney General of the United States of America. I didn't take your homework assignment. I'm sorry. I was preparing for today.
Wow. Thank you. Jesus. I love it when stuff like that happens. Here's a video in which a former Clinton ambassador talks about how Trump was critical to this deal and this ceasefire between Hamas and Israel. This is not what MSNBC wants to hear.
That framework has been available essentially since the end of May. So you might ask the question, as you did, why now? And I would say there was a Trump effect. The Trump effect was on Bibi.
Hello.
In the sense that Bibi was not going to say no to Trump, fears the cost of saying no to Trump. There was a Trump effect also, I think, on Qatar and Egypt. They want to please President Trump, and that means they wanted to show how they could do things that would benefit or be responsive to what it is he wants.
Yeah, I'm going to let you continue, but we have some of the reporting on what you're saying, so I want to kind of match it up for viewers. Again, there's a major truce today, and so the Times says what you say, Ambassador, that this was broadly similar to a three-phase framework publicized by President Biden in May with the 6-week ceasefire. They've reviewed even a copy of the agreement as this was all unfolding today. The same report notes that Donald Trump's threats that all hell would break loose if no deal was reached before his inauguration.
Okay, let me just stop right there, because that's really essentially all you need to know. You and I intuit naturally because we are in tune with the moon. We know how and where things occur. We are in touch. We are grounded with reality, even though you may or may not have your own grounding sheet. But we are in touch with reality. We know the nature of humanity. All you need to do to determine what's going to occur in the future with Trump is look at what occurred prior. And I have to be honest, the Alaskan also is in Rumble Chat. So thanks to Alaskan for being in Rumble Chat. Thanks to the other people that were watching in the first hour as well. And thanks to Jeremy Hansen for jumping into the chat room here in the YouTube chat room. Appreciate it. But you and I both know, as Jeremy Hansen indicates, this is what it is. It's the Trump effect. So this really didn't occur until Trump stepped in. And let me ask you a question. Oh, God, that almost killed my voice to say that. Let me ask you a question. Do you think that bad actors believed it when Trump said all hell would break loose? Do you possibly think that that may have helped to motivate Hamas to do what they're doing now? Because you and I both know it wasn't Joe Vegetable. He was busy wondering if he's going to get tomato soup on Tuesday and trying to go through his early morning gruel so that he can be in bed by noon. But before it's dark, he'll have every picnic basket that's in Jellystone Park. Here's another happy story. This is from Gallup, Gallup.com. Americans see little progress in key areas under Biden. I can go through the whole thing, but I can sum it up. Bad, 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 really bad, bad, bad. The only thing that was good that people, Democrats and leftists, saw was the situation for gay, lesbian, and transgender people managed to improve. You know, the shit that doesn't make any difference whatsoever in our lives, in reality, because leftists are not based in reality. Are they? Let's ask them.
Leftists are dangerously insane. Courtesy of BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show and the SHR Media Network.
I mean, Hunter Biden, at that point, Hunter Biden literally could have had the corpses of children in his basement. I would not have cared.
Okay, this is Sam Harris. I want you to hear this again. Oh, he's a Biden supporter. You can't possibly tell that. Sam?
I mean, Hunter Biden, at that point, Hunter Biden literally could have had the corpses of children in his basement. I would not have cared.
Process that. He's typical. Go, Harris. Continue.
Right. It's like there's nothing. First of all, it's Hunter Biden, right? It's not Joe Biden. But even if whatever scope of Joe Biden's corruption is, like if we could just go down that rabbit hole endlessly and understand that he's getting kickbacks from Hunter Biden's deals in Ukraine or wherever else, right? Or China. It is infinitesimal compared to the corruption we know Trump is involved in. It's like a firefly to the sun, right? I mean, like there's
okay. Delineate that corruption, even though the corruption was immured on video via Vice President at the time, Biden, saying that he extorted and got a prosecutor in Ukraine removed because that guy was going to go over his son. That's on video. Just move along. Nothing to see here. So, Brown, dude, delineate for me the terrible, terrible OMB.
It doesn't even stack up against Trump University, right? Trump University as a story is worse than anything that could be in Hunter Biden's laptop.
Even dead children in his basement. These people are fucking nuts.
In my view, right? Now, that doesn't answer the people who say it's still completely unfair to not have looked at the laptop in a timely way and to have shut down the New York Post's Twitter account. Like that's just a conspiracy. That's a left-wing conspiracy to deny the presidency to Donald Trump. Absolutely, it was. Absolutely, right? But I think it was warranted.
Wait. Oh, he admits it.
Warranted, right? But
it was warranted because it's okay if we do it, right?
And it's a coin toss as to whether or not
Sam, I'm sorry.
That particular piece.
I'm really sorry. I was the one that said we should move on, but you've just said something I really struggle with there, which is
the kids in the basement.
Fuck the kids in the basement. I'm interested in democracy,
and don't think they won't.
You're saying you are content with a left-wing conspiracy to prevent somebody being democratically re-elected as president?
Well, no, I'm content. Well, but the thing is, it's just not left-wing, right? So Liz Cheney is not left-wing.
How would you respond to that? Again, I repeat, AOC, trans girls are girls. This guy, you could have a basement full of dead kids. Who cares?
Right. Liz Cheney is doing everything in her power
to prevent somebody being democratically elected.
But there's nothing conspiracy. It's not. It was a conspiracy out in the open. But it doesn't matter if it doesn't matter what part's conspiracy, what part's out in the open. I mean, I think it's like if people get together and talk about what should we do about this phenomenon. If it's like if there was an asteroid hurtling toward Earth, and we got in a room together with all of our friends and had a conversation about what we could do to deflect its course, right? Is that a conspiracy?
I wanted you to see, again, continuing, how these people think. These people, leftists, how these people think. We're going to move on a little bit. We're going to go start to move towards Los Angeles. And Sackhead Sean and I spoke last night. I want to give this programming note update, if you would, please. Due to circumstances in his control and beyond his control, the Edge of Liberty is going to be, instead of Monday and Fridays at noon, forget that, gone. Now, Sackhead Sean, the Edge of Liberty show is going to be Monday and Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Central, and 11 p.m. Eastern, just like my show. So I repeat, repetitively. I guess I just made that word up. Sackhead Sean at Edge of Liberty is going to have his show now Monday nights at 8 and Wednesday nights at 8 Pacific, 11 Eastern. Okay? Important programming note. So make a note, if you would please pull out your Android phone and go to, let's see, what's my calendar? And put in Edge of Liberty, Sackhead Sean Monday. And also, I would hope that you have in your phone my show, The Fat Guys Show, on select and exclusive Tuesday and Thursday nights. Same bat time, same bat channel. 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. Thanks. We now continue with life, which is already in progress. Here's I got a graphic for you. And I said on Sackhead Sean, which is why that reminded me about the update for the Times. I said this on Sackhead Sean's show. Oh, these people in the LA fires, Palisades, etc., they're not going to have a chance in hell trying to rebuild. Let's put this up here. And this is a perfect example of government gone stupid. Federally, state, county, city, they're almost all the same in blue states. Here's a hot dog vendor who's feeding the firefighters essentially out of the goodness of his heart. It's free. It's not like this dude is price gouging. And some fucker called the health department.
Thank you. No, you too. And let everybody know they come by over here. Thank you. Right now, we go pick up the
So they called while this guy is feeding first responders at the
Lyndon
scene.
White, thank you for the lighting bulb. Some of the city of Pasadena just approached me right now, guys, and they were asking if we were selling because we're not allowed to sell. And I'm telling them we're not selling. We're here volunteering. We're just trying to feed the people that lost their homes, that are being affected, and, the first responders and all that. No, yeah, I already told them. They said they just needed to check. Yes, Norma, same one. Thank you. They said they just needed to check.
Okay, so this is essentially the epitome of no good deed goes unpunished by government. Check this out. This is from the County of Los Angeles Health Department, Public Health. Look down there at the bottom right corner. That's where this came from. Health officer issues order for safe removal, transport, and disposal of fire debris. You can't do it. The health officer has issued an order prohibiting the cleanup or removal of fire debris at fire damaged and burned properties located in critical fire areas, including areas of Palisades, Eaton, Kenneth, Creek, Hearst, and Lydia fires, among others, until a hazardous materials inspection is completed by an approved government agency. I wonder how much that will cost. I wonder what kind of a delay will be encountered in terms of time. Fire debris removal activities must be approved and comply with, what did I say? Local, state, and federal laws and regulations. Hashtag because why not, right?
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Welcome to River of Common Sense.
where we cut through the noise of news and politics with a sharp wit and clear discussion. Tune in every Monday and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a refreshing dose of reality as we fearlessly tackle the top topics with no nonsense, just pure common sense. Visit shrmedia.com to discover where you can catch river common sense in action. He's here to amplify your inner logic. He may not always be polite, he may not always be refined, but one thing's for sure, he always tells it like it is.
Independence. With that declaration, America was born. Inspired by a belief in the God-given rights of every human being, and in the good that comes from exercising these rights well. The founders of our great nation chose independence. As do we. Hillsdale College accepts no government funding because independence makes possible the good to which we aspire.
Attention, all patriotic women of faith. Yep, I'm talking to you, sis. Are you looking for high-quality, super soft apparel that reflects your love for country and your devotion to God? Look no further than Carry Girl Gear. Picture this. You rocking a tee so soft it's like being hugged by a cloud, all while showing off your love for God and country. Sounds dreamy, right? Well, welcome to reality, babes, because that's what we're all about here at Carry Girl Gear. We specialize in super soft tees, tanks, and more, designed specifically for the strong, patriotic woman who proudly wants to carry their message of faith and freedom. When you shop with us, you're not just getting a t-shirt. You're joining a community of like-minded women who are proud to wear their beliefs straight on their tees. So whether you're sipping sweet tea on the porch or leading the charge for faith and freedom, do it in a Carry Girl tee. Because life's too short for stiff, boring tees. CarryGirl.com, where faith and freedom meets fashion.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And welcome. I'm BZ. I'm back. Thank you for being here tonight. Thanks for being in chat. Please subscribe to my channel on Rumble, on the SHR Media YouTube channel. And each subscription gets me something similar to like an arboreal animal of my choice. A porcelain Dalmatian. I've mentioned that before. A spoonful extra of cat food, my choice, usually Hills or Science Diet. I've been offered the timing chain from a 1979 Peterbilt 359, blinker fluid, or my favorite, more vodka. So thank you ever so kindly. Go to shrmedia.com. I don't know why, but you can go there. See, shrmedia.com. You should go there. The first hour, if you missed it, I would recommend going back and listening to it in podcast. Suzanne Monk was there and present, telling us about the J6 Pardon Project and how she's trying to help J6 prisoners who we hope are going to be released January 20th. That it will be one of the first EOs that signed off some of the pardons that are given by Donald John Trump on his very first day in office. It was an incredible interview. She grabbed the ball, kicked my ass to the curb, and ran with it. But it also made me, and if you know anybody, it also made me want to do this. If any of you know a J6 defendant, somebody who knows a J6 defendant, if you know somebody who was incarcerated, if that's you, if maybe you've served your time, if perhaps you were released already or going to be released shortly, I want to hear your story. I want to know what occurred to you, with you. I want to know. I want to hear from you. And if I can, I want to put you on the show. People need, I repeat, people need to understand what the hell occurred here in the United States of America by our version of the Stasi. If you know somebody like that, recommend them to my email, bz@shrmedia.com. bz@shrmedia.com. For those of you who may have just tuned in, bz@shrmedia.com. Now, what did we say? Well, first, we all know that this is still true.
Leftists are dangerously insane. courtesy of BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show and the SHR Media Network.
Thank you, Mr. Announcer. I greatly appreciate it. Would this shock you? Does this shock you? The headline from MSN.com, real estate vultures eye the middle-class enclave of ravaged L.A. Rahm Emanuel. His quote comes into the Brain Housing Group immediately about a crisis. You better not let that go to waste, because there's information out there indicating that, well, if real estate vultures eye middle-class enclave of ravaged L.A., who has been coming in and purchasing rafts of houses, plats of houses, wholesale, that would be BlackRock, in order to turn them into rental properties where you can make a lot more Greckles. So either BlackRock is going to come in and purchase all of this property because the problems with insurance and rebuilding, just as you saw, even before you can turn a spade full of earth, you terrible people, if you don't mitigate everything perfectly, according to leftists, LA County, you have no idea what the nature of you will be Sisyphus pushing the boulder up the hill. All of you, 10,000 to 15,000 of you, you're going to be a massive fleet of Sisyphi pushing that boulder. Mythology, look it up. So, did we not hear that Newsom is thinking about taking full advantage of all of this and changing zoning, especially in Malibu? Well, hell, anywhere. From R1, which is single-family residential, to R3, which is congestive, multi-unit apartment complexes or condos. Because you can make more money off of that. More taxes, more people coming into California when we don't have the infrastructure. Here's something that you need to know. Now, if you may have been a little pissed at Gavin Newsom, I hope you're sitting down, because I was looking all over for this article and I found it. I heard rumors and rumors of rumors about this. And then I went to a Substack of Jessica Reed Krause. Exclusive. Source claims Newsom confiscated Starlink modems from firefighters amid Wi-Fi outage during LA fires. Our power and phone lines were down. The internet, a lifeline in disaster response, was suddenly cut off, leaving us completely isolated and hindering our ability to carry out our duties effectively. What's Starlink? Elon Musk. Who took his company from California, always spelled with a K? Elon Musk. Who put it in Texas? Elon Musk. Who's pointed his finger at Gavin Newsom? Elon Musk. This is nothing more than leftist get back by Elon Musk. Now, I've said before over the years, I can find great articles frequently in British media much more readily and more accurate, I might add, than from the American media maggots. This is from dailymail.com. Now, since I've been doing video, Daily Mail is absolutely a pain in the ass in terms of ads. But they do have information that I like to highlight every now and then. This is true. If you've heard more rumors, how many pieces of apparatus were workable during these fires? Well, don't talk about that reservoir. That reservoir is another issue. Don't look there. Well, they don't want you to look here either. Staggering image of 100 essential fire trucks idling in a parking lot waiting for repair while Los Angeles apocalyptic fire ravages the city, killing 24. It's 25 now, and I think it's going to be more people than that. The pictures captured by a local activist show scores of essential firefighting vehicles sitting in the LA Fire Department Bureau of Supply and Maintenance lot on North Avenue 19 in the city's northeast. Now, LA Fire Chief Kristen Crowley said in an interview with CNN, "We have over 100 fire apparatus out of service. Having these apparatus and the proper amount of mechanics would have helped." Now, 100 out of service. How many vehicles, firefighting vehicles, does the LA Fire Department have? It says right here, the LAFD have a total of 183 trucks, meaning that more than half of the city's fire trucks are out of commission as the fires continue to burn. Now, they weren't as bad because the winds today and yesterday were not as terrible as they were expecting. That's a little bit of a bonus, but still containment, not so bueno. Now, this comes after the LA Fire Department made a request to the city council to replace the entire fleet at the cost of $96.5 million. You may or may not know that a fire apparatus piece costs, average cost to begin, $600,000, $700,000, $800,000, $900,000. Some of them are up to $1 million. Everybody pays that bank if you want to get a Pierce truck or whatever it is that you're looking for. The LAFD said in its request, many vehicles have surpassed their expected service life, leading to increased maintenance costs, reduced parts availability, and potential downtime. And the fire service also said, hey, we could use $1.9 million to restore 16 maintenance positions that were deleted in last year's budget. But Karen Bass thought, fire protection and police protection, in keeping with Democrats, leftists, and globalists, all that foundational crap is obviously overrated. Now let's continue with more leftists. Sometimes these concepts are difficult to grasp, but I show them to you here because you need to understand how it is that these people think. There was a bill. Well, let me just start at the headlines. 145 House Democrats voted against a bill to deport migrants who committed sexual assault. So the people that voted against this must think that illegal invaders coming into this country and raping and sexually assaulting American women, that's okay. Those are the good people that you really do want to keep. They voted against a House bill, to deport illegal immigrants convicted of sex crimes. How do you justify that? It's why I'm saying these people are insane. These people are insane. Let's look at the comments. I can see that we've got some more. Now, Sean Lewis, who is the Edge of Liberty, said, hey, look, more government in LA. So if you would, maybe you can screenshot that right there and go there and you can see more wonderful LA government. But the funny thing is, as he indicates, they did have the money for all those fancy electric trucks. And this, he mentions, $1.2 million. The base cost for a Rosenbauer RT real technology is $900,000, with agencies able to customize them. LAFD's electric fire engine was pocket change, $1.2 million. Who could possibly argue against that? So, because, in a fire truck up in the mountains and the hills and everything, what happens when all of a sudden it runs out of power? Well, that means you have to have another one to replace it, which means that you actually have to have more charging stations and more pieces of apparatus to replace the ones that dump on you. I'll wager you haven't heard this. This is from James O'Keefe. and the folks that kicked him out of the very own thing that he created. But James O'Keefe still does the inside videos. Here is a top Pentagon advisor on hidden camera talking about how he wants to arrange a couple of retired generals. This guy is going general shopping. He wants to arrange a couple of retired generals to explore what we can do to protect people against Trump. Riku, anyone? Again, this is my show. These are my opinions. I get to say it. Coup, anyone? This is a guy named Jamie Manina. Would it surprise you to know that he's a former FBI agent? Go, Jamie, go.
And I work at this top consulting firm, and my client is the Pentagon. So I'm embedded in the Pentagon. I work in the Joint Staff, which is the top military command. When she lost, I went into the intelligence community and I became an FBI special agent. So I became a spy hunter. So I was a counterintelligence agent, special agent at the FBI.
What's your overall assessment of Trump?
He's a sociopathic narcissist who is only interested in advancing his name, his wealth, and his fame.
Is there anything you can do to protect American people from stuff that he might try to do?
I'm in conversation with a couple of retired generals to try to explore what we can do.
Who were the retired generals?
Because it didn't work so well the first time. Remember the 50 intelligence agents, or the 50 intelligence experts who said, oh, you can trust us. Well, hell, you can trust us with anything. That Hunter Biden laptop, that's bullshit. We're intelligence specialists, so you can believe anything and everything that was said. General Milley wanted to warn China about President Trump if he was even conjuring in his sleep some kind of an attack or retribution or anything to do with China. Milley was going to go, hello, my China counterpart in the army, in the CCP. I want to update you about some kind of, I just don't like Trump. I don't like him. Well, they didn't keep him out of the presidency. So now there has to be we have to go general shopping again and admiral shopping to make sure that none of his projects go through. None.
That you were going to talk to.
They're 1, 2, or 3 star generals and admirals. You probably know maybe 4 stars. So I also have a big day tomorrow, probably the biggest day of all. So we have this huge meeting with military leaders in a very secure room called the Tank.
Hey, have you guys ever seen the movie 7 Days in May? Have you ever read the book 7 Days in May?
Ooh. So we have a tank meeting with all of the top leaders in the United States military tomorrow on my topic that I prepared.
So it went well.
I think it went well. Very sensitive information. We're gonna have to keep it between us. Specialize in artificial intelligence and emerging technologies like quantum, cybersecurity. Yeah.
What's quantum? I haven't heard of it.
Quantum is incredibly fast supercomputing that doesn't yet exist but will soon exist. And when it does, it will change everything.
Okay, so I think you've got the gist of this, of what this asshole wants to do. Well, then as you heard it, as it was recorded, here's what happened out on the street. That was in a restaurant. Now, this is what happened out in the street when James O'Keefe says, hi, I'm James O'Keefe, and I'd like to talk to you about spying and the things that you're arranging. Take it away.
Jamie,
You're a spy hunter, you say. Well, I'm a spy hunter too, but I'm evidently a better spy hunter than you.
We have no permission to use it.
Actually, we do. It's called the First Amendment. Why would you lie to me?
I'm not lying to you, and I'm not.
Do you lie every day at work?
No, I'm not lying.
Then why did you say that you are working with retired generals?
What are you talking about?
You were a special agent with the FBI. You worked for Hillary Clinton. You worked for the State Department. You talk about hunting spies.
And boasted about it. You heard.
Guys, what if my undercover person was a Russian spy?
Go away, you liar. You're a known fraudster. You have a poor reputation. No one believes you. Go away.
What
Get the fuck out of here.
Okay, so this is the former FBI special agent. Is that right?
You're an asshole. You're an asshole. Go away. Go away.
Yeah, there's no reason to get upset, sir.
Or name call. There's no reason to name call. Jamie Manina, former FBI agent, sir.
Go away.
Go away.
Behind the First Amendment to get away with your freaking fraud and threats.
Fraud is a very serious accusation. That's a form of psychological projection. Jamie.
Which is why I say, clearly, as you can see, evidenced, this isn't going to stop. This absolutely isn't going to stop. Do I have a couple more? Yeah, I do. This is just stupid. But I'm a show all about stupidity. By the way, NCX Group, thanks for your kudos and comments about that. And as Sean indicates, if you enjoy the show, like and subscribe. Even if you don't like the show, you can like and subscribe to Complain Live in Chat, and I will listen to you live in chat. Huzzah. Kudos. Gen Z, they don't care if you think it's dumb. They carry stuffed animals around. It brings me a little bit of happiness. Young adults are leading the plush toy boom as the kidult frenzy adulting reaches a fever pitch with millions of videos flooding the hashtag plushies tag on TikTok. After I got video, I love doing this stuff because instead of me just telling you, well, this is how stupid this stuff is coming. Here's an article from now I can show you directly. Here's the links. The missing links? Are you talking about Clyde the Bobcat? I should start carrying Clyde around. I have. Clyde is guarding my living room. I have another Clyde coming, son of Clyde, younger son of Clyde, if I can find him. This is also very, am I going to do this? I got about 7 more minutes left. Yeah, let's do this because I have another one after this that's linked. This is 1 minute and 12 seconds. Now, if you wondered about the CDC and various communities, let you not be dissuaded from hearing this.
People are totally unvaccinated. Is that like where do you find? Is it just the parents that stepped up and said? I would think that's a very small percentage because so many of us blindly followed, the recommendations to vaccinate children.
Yeah, it's less than 1% of the public. So the Amish are a perfect example of a large group of people who are largely unvaccinated. And there's no we can't find an autistic kid who was unvaccinated. It's very, very rare in the Amish community, very, very rare. You won't find kids with ADD, with autoimmune disease, with panda pans, with epilepsy. You just don't find any of these chronic diseases in the Amish. And the U.S. government has been studying the Amish for decades, but there's never been a report out to the public. The reason, of course, is it would show that, if you don't follow our guidelines, you're going to end up healthier. That's why there's no report after decades of studying the Amish. There's no report because the report would be devastating to the narrative. It would show that the CDC has been harming the public for decades.
And it's all a lie. It's all a lie. So, remember this guy? That's Antonio Fauci. He's still getting a chauffeur. He was the highest paid member of the federal government, over $400,000 a year. Your taxpayer dollars are still paying for him getting a chauffeur and a car and a security detail. What fun! Your federal tax dollars at work. Isn't that great? Speaking of science, you and I both know this. We intuit this. This is from Newsweek. It's like, what? The scientific establishment is turning science into a dogmatic tool of oppression. What did we learn about the chick? Because leftist white chicks are nuts. The leftist white chick at Scientific American, making sure that Scientific American is everything except scientific. And did you know this? I think this is going to be the last video that I'll do for tonight. Remember Mark Milley, general under Lloyd Austin, who wanted to be a traitor and was a traitor for claiming that he would notify communist China, our enemies, should Trump decide that he's going to do something that Milley didn't like or agree with. He would notify our worst enemies. Well, it didn't stop there. Milley is retired. And I did an entire show on what he's doing now. He's going to make bank investing in Ukraine. But Milley wanted Merrick Garland to target Americans. This is from Tom Fitton's Judicial Watch. Listen and watch.
Judicial Watch filed a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit against the U.S. Department of Justice for details of a reported meeting between Attorney General Merrick Garland and Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman General Mark Milley. During the meeting, Milley and Garland reportedly discussed President Trump. General Milley reportedly pressured Garland to target American, quote, far-right militia movements. The meeting was first reported by journalist Bob Woodward in his new book, War. Woodward writes that in early 2021, Garland and Milley met for lunch at the Department of Justice. Milley pressured the Attorney General to investigate domestic threats and far-right militia groups. Woodward described the meeting as highly unusual, if not unprecedented. Judicial Watch sued after the Justice Department failed to respond to an October 2024 FOIA request for records about the lunch meeting. Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton had this to say.
General Milley and Garland's reported meeting about targeting President Trump and other American citizens further demonstrates the Biden administration was and is at odds with the foundational principles of our constitutional republic, and that the Justice Department would flout FOIA law to hide the details of this conspiracy meeting speaks volumes about its contempt for the rule of law.
President Joe Biden is reportedly considering granting General Milley a wide-ranging preemptive pardon, similar to the pardon granted to President Biden's son, Hunter.
Isn't that interesting? Well, of course it is. That's how corrupt General Milley is. And that's how deep the deep state goes. Quite corrupt, quite deep. And I think I may have time for, oh, damn, I'll have to do it on another show because I'm not going to be going into overtime tonight. A lot of things happened. It was a great first hour. I had Suzanne Monk on the show. And again, I would highly recommend that you watch the first hour and educate yourself on what may be happening come January 20th. And again, I'm going to emphasize, if anybody knows any J6 defendants or can have them notify me, I want to hear their story. So send them to bz at shrmedia.com, bz at shrmedia.com. There's so much we don't know, but we need to. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. Live and direct right here on Rumble, on the SHR Media YouTube channel, on X, on Twitch, and the munificently grandiose KLRN Radio, and tons of other bulbous podcast locales all over the place. If it's a podcast locale and you want it to be bulbous, then you need to seek me out like a hunter missile, like an exoset running into the, can't think of the ship that was sunk. Damn, I hate not having a memory. I have. Bad. Anyway, promotional consideration by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, also by Sheeran Electro Voice Microphones, by Arrakis that make my board, and also Pratt & Whitney engines, dependable engines producing thrust you can trust, and tiaras like this are by My Little Pony. Thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team, with whom I will be consorting in less than 10 minutes. About 20 or 30 feet over in that direction, over there. So, thanks for listening tonight. Thanks to Suzanne Monk. Thanks to you for listening live, being in chat, and podcast. Au revoir. Au revoir. Mon ami.
Good night, Jim Bob. What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing? Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, and good luck.